Hello and welcome to this tutorial for users of Microsoft Word 2016 for the Mac. In this tutorial we're going to continue looking at working with pictures in Word, and in this case those pictures are in the form of photographs. And adding a photograph is very similar to adding a picture in the form of clip art that we saw previously. And on the desktop I've got a folder called Photos, and if I double click to open that folder you'll see I have 3 images contained in there. And the first one, report image, is the one that I want to include in this report. And the easiest way for me to get this image into the document is simply to click on the image in the folder and drag across to the Word document. It doesn't really matter where I drop the image at the moment, so I'll just release the mouse button and there is the image in the document. Now the first thing I want to do is crop unnecessary visual information out of this photo, so I really want the focus to be on the projector itself and not on the chairs or any other bits and pieces around it. So what we're going to do is click to select the photo, go to the Picture Format tab, and I'm going to come across to the right of that toolbar into the size section that you've seen before, but this time I'm going to click on the Crop button. And if you keep an eye on those drag handles that surround the image, those small square spots, and watch what happens when I click on the Crop button. You'll see we get some additional drag handles now. What I can do with these is crop the image. So if I put the mouse pointer on, for example, that middle one there on the top line, you'll see the mouse pointer changes to this upside down T shape. Sometimes it's quite hard to see. Hopefully you can see that on the screen there. When I have that, all I need to do is click and drag down in this case, and as you see the grey shading indicates what I will be removing from the image. So drag all the way down close to the projector, and I'm happy with the cropping there, so simply release the mouse button and then come across to the right side and do the same thing. So put the mouse pointer over the right side crop handle and drag in until I have cropped the image where I want it on the right side. Again, release the mouse button, do the same thing at the bottom. Now you'll see there the drag handle, and in this case drag up, and finally go to the left side. Again, get the crop icon and drag in all the way there to the projector and just release the mouse button. Now at the moment I haven't completed the crop, so I could cancel it if I wanted to by pressing the escape key, but I want to complete the crop, and that can be done simply by clicking again the crop button. And when I do that you'll see the difference, and with that the parts of the image I don't want to see are removed. In fact they're still there, you just can't see them. So when you save this document, the hidden parts of the image are still included. So for example, if I click the crop button again, I can actually reverse the crop by again putting the mouse pointer and dragging out this time to reveal the hidden parts of the image. However, I'll leave it cropped, and again just click that crop button to complete. So keep that in mind, that when you crop an image all you're doing is basically hiding parts of the image rather than deleting parts of the image. Now I want to position this image down at the right side of this paragraph, so if I click and drag, see what happens. It doesn't really behave the way I want it to, so it's moving in the general direction, but it's actually, at the moment, it's working as a piece of text rather than an image. And to fix that I need to set the text wrap options, or the wrap text options if you prefer. So if we come up to the picture format toolbar again just make sure the image is obviously selected. And in the Arrange section you will see the Wrap Text button. We've looked at this before, and if I click on the drop down there, what I want to do is set Square. The Square, Tight and Through options are quite similar. I prefer the Square option because it allows more space between the image and the text when you position it. However, I will show you the top and bottom one first. So if I click on top and bottom, you can see the behavior of the image with that. So now I can actually move the image wherever I want to by clicking and dragging. The text will always move above or below the image as I move, and there will always be a blank space left and right of the image. So I'm going to go back to the wrap text options and choose my preferred options, which is Square. So when I click on that you'll see the behavior. So now I can drag to the right and you'll see that the text wraps around the image on the left, and if I drag left you will see that the text wraps around the image to the right of the image. So whenever I move the graphic you can see that the text is basically reformatting to fit around the image. Now you've got to be careful when you do this because you can end up with quite a mess, so it's often better just to position the image either on the right or the left depending on your preference. And I'm going to position this over on the right. Again, just drag like so. Again, just be careful of your margin positions. You can see my margin there, so I'm probably better positioning it roughly right there. And when I've finished, I can just press the escape key to cancel the selection, and there is my finished document with the image. I'll show you a few options for sizing, moving and changing the look of the image now. So if I come back and click on that photo, and I'll just actually scroll that image up to the top there so you can see it a little bit more clearly when I make the changes. Again, go to that picture format tab, and over on the right we've seen before the size options. And again, when you're resizing, just make sure the tick is in this lock aspect ratio box here, otherwise you'll end up with a squashed or stretched image. And what you can do here is resize the image by using these dial buttons here. So as I click, if you can keep an eye on the projector, you'll see as I click this button upwards, the image increases in size, and obviously as I click the down button, you will see the image decrease in size. You can also move the image if I come back and click on it using the keyboard, and I can just use the arrow keys on the keyboard to reposition, and you might find that is a better way of positioning your image more precisely. There's also a button to the left of the wrap text button called position, and I'll demonstrate that by first of all setting the zoom level so you can see the whole page. So select whole page on the zoom options, click OK, and now if I click on the drop down for position, you'll see that with text wrapping, which is what I have, I can move that image to the top left of the document like so, click position again, I can move it to the center, click position again, or the lower right of the document. So basically it's a way of quickly just moving an image to a general position, either top left, top right, or bottom right as in this case. However, I'm going to click undo and return the image to its original position there to the right of the final paragraph. And I'll just reset the zoom level back to 150%, click OK, and again I'll just scroll the image back up to the top there. And let's move across further left, and you can see here we have some formatting options, and many of these you can experiment with. And if I click on artistic effects, you'll see some very unusual effects you can apply. And if I, for example, click on this glass effect here, you will see how that impacts the image. It's okay for artistic purposes, but otherwise I would ignore these. So let's just undo that change. And come a little bit further across, we have also some corrections here. So if I click on that corrections button, the drop down there, you can use this top row of options to either soften or sharpen the image. Typically you wouldn't need to do that, but in the rare circumstances where you feel that a small amount of sharpening might help the image, you can use these two options to the right here. You can also change the brightness and contrast, so if you feel that the image looks a little bit dull, you can maybe choose one of these brighter options further down. So if I click this brightness 40%, contrast is normal, you'll see the change there. So it just brightens the image slightly, and in fact I might actually leave that applied. And one final effect I'll show you here is how to remove the background of an image. And in this case what I might want to do is have the projector showing and lose all of the table parts of the image. So if I come across the left side of this adjust section on the picture format tab and click remove background, you will see I get this large surround, this purple surround, and you'll notice by the way it's showing me the entire image and not just the cropped part now. However, I can ignore that. All I need to do is focus on this central part, and you can see that anything that doesn't have the purple shading is what will ultimately be shown. So first of all, I'm missing part of my lens here at the front, or the lens cap in fact. So just put the mouse pointer again on that drag handle, and as I drag down to reveal the lens, then the image will update to account for that change. So again, if I come across to the right now and drag to the right, there's the updated image again with the right part of the projector. Do the same thing on the left side. And finally, I want all of the projector case showing, so just drag the final drag handle upwards there, roughly to that position, so the entire machine is showing. And you can see there that it's done a pretty good job of locating the edges of my projector. It's not perfect. Photoshop would do a much better job, but for now that will do. All I need to do now is click back on the remove background button. And there we are. My projector appears, if I just press the escape key to cancel the selection, to be floating on the page with no background distractions at all. So that's one thing you might want to consider. And if I now scroll back up that document there, you can see the completed document with my image. So I'll save that, and the final thing I'm going to do is create a new document by typing Ctrl N on the keyboard, and there's a new blank document, and I'm going to create a guide for people using that projector. It's quite a simple guide, and I'm going to include the remaining images from my photo folder, and I'm going to actually select both of those images and drag them both onto the document like so. And if I just move that folder out of the way, you scroll up the page, you will see both the images. I'm going to crop both of those images first of all and resize them. So let's click on the top image first of all, go to the picture format tab, click the crop button and go through that process of cropping down so that I focus only on the part of the image that I need to. So just click and drag there. All I need to do really here is just show this control panel. So again, there's the crop, click the crop button again to complete that. Now come to my second image and do the same thing, click the crop button and let's crop that down to this panel in the center there. Same process really, just click and drag on those crop drag handles until I have the image exactly as I want, like so. Remember, if you do make a mistake with cropping, the rest of the image is still there, so you can easily correct it by returning to the crop feature, and in this case, for example, maybe dragging right to reveal a bit more of the control panel. When you're happy, click the crop button and there's the crop completed. Next, I'm going to set the wrap option for both images, and I'm going to click the wrap text button and I'm going to click on in front of text for the first image, click the second image and do the same thing in front of text, and that means I can actually drag these images around the page anywhere I want to now. I'm also going to set the page layout to landscape before I move on, so let's go to the layout tab and change the orientation to landscape like so. And if I also just zoom out a little bit on the page, I can drag those images to where I want them. I want this first image on the left and my other image on the right like so. I'll move them a bit further up the page there, and now I want to add some instructions, and to do that I'm going to add a text box first of all. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and you'll see over on the right on the Insert tab we have the text section, and one of those options is a text box. So click on the text box option and I'm going to draw the text box. So come back to the document and I'm just going to click and drag below my first image. It doesn't have to be exact because you can actually resize this later on if you want to. And I'll type in my first instruction, which is connect the HDMI cable to input number 1. So there's my instruction. I want an instruction for the second image now, and I'm going to do that nice and easily by simply clicking on the edge of my first text box, Control C on the keyboard, Control V, and there's a copy of my text box which I can now drag below the second image, and I'm going to click into that text box and delete that piece of text and type in my second instruction, which is going to be set zoom and focus. And you'll see there the second text box doesn't need to be that wide, so I can come to the right side of the text box and just click and drag so that it fits the text a bit more closely. And I might also want to have that text box centered under the image. Now, just in case it's not clear what those instructions are referring to, I'm going to add some graphic objects so it's very clear. And to do that, I'm going to go to the Insert tab again and come to my shape options. You've seen these previously, and I'm going to choose this circle option here. So click on the basic shape circle, and I'm going to draw a circle around the connection that I'm talking about, which is the one on the left there. So click and drag, release the mouse button. Now don't worry at the moment that it's a solid circle, so I come up to the shape format tab, and over on the left in shape styles where shape fill is, select no fill. Now that means that the circle doesn't stand out so well, so I'm going to change the color of the edge of the circle to red first of all, And I'm going to click that same option again and come to weight and set the weight to 3 point. So you can now see that stands out quite clearly. I'm going to copy that now. So again, Control C to copy, V to paste, and drag that over to my second image and make sure it's covering those focus and zoom options on the control there, or the control panel. And finally, I want to have a small arrow pointing to that circle from the instruction. So to do that, go to the Insert tab again, click Shapes again, and this time I'm looking for an arrow, which is in the recently used, but it's also found in the line section there. So if I click on that, I will draw an arrow on the screen, anywhere will do. First of all, I'll format that so I'll have the same color red, and I'll also set the weight to 3 points again, so it's the same thickness as the circle. I can then put the mouse pointer at either end of the arrow and click and drag to rotate it, and also click and drag to make it shorter or longer. So I'm going to first of all drag on the arrow and drag that to where the circle is, so it's on the edge there, and just move the other end of the arrow so it's coming from my text box. And again, I'm going to copy that, so Control C, Control V makes a copy, and drag the copied arrow. This time obviously I want it pointing to my second circle, and then drag the other end so it's clearly coming from the instruction. And if I now press the Escape key to deselect, there are my two images with information telling the viewer what part of the image is relevant. One problem with doing this sort of thing is that if you move part of the image, so if I now click and drag my first photo, you'll see that I can often mess up my plan because the circle doesn't move with the image. So what I'm going to do is do something called grouping. And to do that, I'm going to select all the objects. I'll just press the Escape key first of all to cancel the selection. And first of all, click on the photo. Hold down the Shift key now, and then click on the edge of the circle, click on the arrow, and finally click on the text box. By the way, when you put the mouse pointer over, you can see a small box around indicating that's what you will be selecting. And if I click now, I've now selected those 4 objects. And if I go to the Shape Format tab and come across to the Arrange button here on the right, click on the drop down, and you'll see on the right hand side there I have the Group option. If I click on the button there, I get one option, which is Group. The other one is Ungroup, which obviously doesn't apply. So if I click on Group, all those objects now become a single object, and I can click and drag on the edge and now move them all as a single object. You can, by the way, still click on a single part of the group. So if I click on the arrow, for example, I can select that and move that separately. So be careful of that. What you need to do is make sure you click on the edge of a group set, and then you'll move all those images together. So let's do that one more time with my second set of objects on the right. So this time I'll click on the photo, Shift key held down, click on the second object, the arrow of the third object, and finally the text box. Now this time I'll go to the Picture Format tab, and on the Picture Format tab the Group option is on the right side of the Arrange tab. You'll see the button here. If I click on the drop down, again there's the Group option, and we now have our second grouped set. Finally, I'll just tidy up the page. I'm going to click and drag my first image down a little bit, and I actually want the top edges of both these images lined up. And what I'm going to do is hold down the Shift key with my first group selected and select the second group. And if I come up to the Align button in the Picture Format tab, click on the drop down, and I'm going to click Align Top. That just makes sure that the top of these two images are in line. And of course, with both groups selected, I can also move both together. So all I need to do is put the mouse pointer on the edge of either group, click and drag, and they will move together like so. One final thing, just to make sure it's clear that we are talking about a guide for the projector, I'm going to come back to the Insert tab and come across to my Word Art options over on the right there. Click the drop down for Word Art, and let's choose this blue option here. Simply click on that, and you'll see here my Word Art has actually appeared over one of the photos. I can just drag that out of the way, and I'm going to click into that box, click and drag across there to select the existing entry, and we'll call this a projector guide. And I can make that text a bit larger by clicking on the edge of the text box, go back to the Home tab, and I have my increase and decrease font buttons here that you would have seen previously, and I can click on that a couple of times so I have a much larger title. And finally, just press the escape key one more time. You can also, by the way, simply click away to deselect if you would prefer to deselect with the mouse. And there's my completed document. So that completes this look at using graphics and photographs in Word. It's been a brief look, but I hope you found some things in there that are useful and that you can apply to the documents that you're working on. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.